everybody, how you doing? We're going to be doing the ABCs of the ASR with Dick Hi-Fi. So first, a few basics about the machine. We're going to pretend you're just turning this thing on for the first time. You got your hands on one somehow. You got some discs. You don't know what's what. So first, alright, you're going to notice there is a floppy drive on this. You should know what that is. If not, you gotta look that up. But we're gonna pop this in here because it says OS on it. So OS is your operating system disk. You need that. It doesn't have its own brains, so to speak. So you're gonna flip that OS disk in there, and there's over here on the rear right hand side a power switch. You're just gonna pop that on. Now you want to make sure at this point nothing is on the keyboard. You're not touching anything. It's going to start doing its thing. Don't try to put in a disc or take out a disc while this is going on. You're going to mess stuff up, so you don't want to do that. It's loading up. It's going to say tuning keyboard, hands off. If everything is cool after that, you're going to get prompted by whatever is on your disc. It should be just saying load instrument. This one has a tutorial bank in it. We're not going to use that. So, let's also pretend you did have some discs. So just grab one, put it in there. You're going to press load over here on the left. It's the top button. It says load. Load instrument. It's going to show you what is recognized on this disc as instruments. This says Elvin instrument. We have no idea what that is. So we're going to page up and see if there's anything else on there too. There is. Oh, look at all this stuff. Wow. So we came to this thing. It says bank, sound bank 1. That is going to be a collection of those instruments. So since we don't know what's going on, let's load this bank up. I'll explain a little bit later exactly what the bank is, what the instruments are. This is just a quick little once over to see if we can get things making noises. So I hit enter. It's starting its thing. It's loading up these instruments, which are sounds, collection of sounds, into these slots, numbers 1 through 8. This is what you're going to be dealing with. These are instruments, also your sequence tracks. They double as that. Like I said, we'll go into that in much more depth in some further episodes here. Alright, the ASR has 2 processing engines in it, so while it's loading this stuff, you can actually make sounds from the other instruments. So what I did is I just pressed one of these buttons. They're red to show you that there's an instrument in there, and when they're red and yellow, that means that particular one is selected. It'll tell you right there. It says loaded, selected. So I got this one selected. If we go to edit instrument, it's going to tell you what the name of it is. It also in load, it'll tell you what the name. So this one's called human head. This one is bleepy. Bleepy. So on and so forth. This one is now selected. Now that one's selected. That one's selected. You can see the yellow light. Now let's load a sequence. We got all these sounds in there. We're going to press load sequence and see if there's anything in there. So there is. It says sequence 2. Let's page up or down. You can page up or down. It says sequence 2, King Tut 1. We don't know what these are. Let's just put King Tut 1 in. You press enter. It's doing its thing. You hear it working. It says disk command completed. So it's loaded in there. Now, if you got this far, let's go ahead and press play. Alright. It's doing its ASR10 thing, playing a little beat that it had in there. So, if everything went right, it's making its own noise. So now that's a little instant gratification. We're going to find out a little more about what we just did. A little more in depth about these things. We'll start trying to manipulate this stuff and see if we can make sense of it. If you got a machine and it didn't have any disk with, there was no OS, there was no any sounds, you just got the machine. What you're going to want to do, jump online, see if you can buy an OS disk. They're readily available. People sell them all day on, you know the spots. I use version 1.6, OS version 1.6. It's an earlier one, and there's a couple of fancy little things that it doesn't do, but those little fancy things that it does do are really annoying. And I've heard other people say the same thing, so, you know, I guess I'm not alone or crazy or whatever. But version 1.6 seems to be the most streamlined version. It does everything I need it to do and doesn't aggravate me. So there's that. Let's go over the inputs, the outputs on the back. So just to show you how to hook this thing up. There's a lot of stuff on here. Right now, you won't be using most of it. What you're mainly concerned with is the main out, which is, you know, the left and right out of here. They're unbalanced outs. You're just going to use a 1/4" connector, tip sleeve, and put that into whatever you're going to, a mixer, your stereo, boombox, what have you. Next, well, first over here is headphones. So that's the easiest way to monitor what you're doing, is just plug a pair of headphones into it, and you can hear what's going on. The signal is not crazy hot, but it's good enough to work with. All right, next up we got the audio inputs, left and right as well. Same connectors, 1/4" tip sleeve. You're going to get all the signals coming into your ASR10 are going to be coming through those. It has an input level next to that, and then a mic line switch. The input level is kind of your fine tuning. It's a little knob, and you can turn it up and down just to get the level right of your signal coming in. The mic line switch is going to switch between mic and line input. So you can plug a mic directly into this thing and just talk into it and get samples. And you're going to put that obviously in mic position, and it's got a built-in preamp there. You won't be able to plug an XLR directly up into it, so you need to get like a low Z, an adapter, or come out with the mic with some piece of gear that has a 1/4" out. And then, you know, mainly you're going to be using the line. You don't really use the mic that much. The next thing coming down the line here, output expander. Very, very rare. If you get an output expander, you did a good job. They're hard to find. I've had this ASR since '94, and probably about 6 or 7 years ago, I finally found the output expander here. So I do have one, but I've never really seen another one there. So if you find one, scoop it up and send it to me. Then you have the SCSI. SCSI is it's just another way to save the data. It's a way to save a lot more data than the floppy disks. The disks are not that, they can't really hold that much. So if you're getting a disk, you want to get high density disks. Like you'll see, this is a MF2 HD. HD is high density. You're going to see some that say double DD as well. They're double density. They're not double. They're not more double than high anyway. If you're using double density disks, you're going to be using a lot of them because they don't hold that much. So yeah, I use the disk just because that's what I've always used. The SCSI is another way to hold data, and you know, it's an external thing. It's an outboard thing. You connect it. You can hold a lot of stuff on there. Now, back when I first got this, I knew other cats that had it, and they would say that after they hooked up their SCSI drive, they started having problems. They would get errors. They would get system shutdown, and that discouraged me from going that way, really. So I never really jumped into that. Now, subsequently, I heard that there was a type of SCSI drive that didn't play very well with the ASR10. But there's plenty that do fine, and people tell you all day that, you know, they have theirs and it works and there's no problem. I'm going to look into that eventually. You get sort of tired of the discs, but they're all right. Then you got the digital in and out. I never really used that much, but that could be useful for moving data around. Your pedal is another controller, a foot switch, another one, and then you got your MIDIs, ins and outs. We'll get into all that later. But that's basically the thing. And then your power cord plugs into there, uses a standard, you know, 3-prong cord that are very common these days. So that's it for the back panel. So, all right, all very well and good. Let's say you want to get rid of these now. A quick way to delete these instruments, you just hold it down, go into load, hold down whatever instrument you want to get rid of, and press no. and now it's deleted. Make sure it lights yellow. There you go. So yeah, so this is just going to delete it. When you delete it, it just deletes it from your bank. It's not off the disk. It doesn't erase it from the disk. It's still on there. As a matter of fact, once everything is loaded up there, it doesn't need the disk anymore. It just transferred it into its brain here. So you don't need to even keep the disk in there. You're not going to erase things by deleting things. So that's pretty much it. Congratulations on making some sounds with this thing. We're going to be back with the next segment, going a little more in depth with some of the instruments, sequences, tracks, so forth. So thanks for watching. See you later.